Welcome back to the Big Show, now in HD. Ooh, so much space. What do I do? Wow, it's crazy. I'll stop that. Welcome back to the first big issue number 1 of my fine show, Matteo Drinks a Beer. Today's beer is going to be this fine Fireman's 4 from brewed right here in Austin. Well, it's actually brewed in Blanco, Texas, but I'm in Austin, and it's a Texas beer, and you can find it other places, I know that, but it's a delicious beer. I really like it. So, of course, I'm going to go ahead and just... I did it! This is a really great beer. It's one of my favorites. It's kind of got a lemony sort of taste. I'm an unfiltered wheat kind of guy. This isn't an unfiltered wheat. In fact, this is a blonde ale. But what I love about this is that it has kind of a lemony, sort of toasty deliciousness to it. Some people think it's a little sour. But I guess that's just the lemony taste that I taste in it. It's one I really enjoy, and one of those that I definitely recommend. Bottoms up. And before you start with comments and emails, I know what your next question, Matt, last week you were talking about how you can get pumpkin beer and pumpkin this. Right now in Austin, it's like 85 degrees, and that pumpkin ale would be just a little bit heavy for that kind of weather. Yeah, I'm rubbing it in. Totally. So that's the beer I'll be drinking tonight. Whatever beer you decide to be drinking with me, pop it now. So, what's on the agenda tonight? I know that's your big question. Well, I'm going to hit up a couple of movies that I've been watching over the last couple of weeks, and I want you to get with it. Because really, not too surprisingly, the next 2 movies I'm about to talk about, I highly recommend. That means go do it, because you should just go see stuff because I tell you to. So the first movie I'm going to talk about today is the new Dredd 3D movie. I just thought was amazing. I know, you wouldn't think that, but it is. It's great. The movie stars Carl Urban, who is also playing Dr. McCoy in the reboot of Star Trek, and the new one that's coming out. Great. He's awesome in this movie. The funny thing is he never takes off his helmet, so until I saw the credits, I was like, I didn't even know who played him. But what a great film. For me, when I went to go see this movie, I just had a lot of stress going on this week, and I didn't have a lot of free time, and I was kind of just like tense. So I wanted to go see a movie. So I had that to choose from, or End of Watch. And I just knew End of Watch seemed like it was going to be a little bit heavier, and I was looking for something a little bit lighter. That's exactly what I got. Now, if you remember, for those of you who are old enough, back in the late 80s, there were a bunch of just like sci-fi but ridiculously violent movies. I mean, really kind of over the top in the violence. You know, somebody gets a bullet through their head, but it doesn't just like, it like, you know, it was that kind of ridiculousness. And the movies I'm thinking of are like the original Total Recall and RoboCop. You know, RoboCop at the end, the guy in the toxic waste kind of comes out and he's all melting. What a world! What a world! So it's that kind of, just ridiculous kind of over-the-top violence. With a lot of those great sci-fi movies of that time, the concepts were amazing, but the violence was just kind of over the top. And that's exactly how this movie is. I mean, just awesome special effects. It's all about Dredd having to go into a 100-story walk-up. Well, it's not a walk-up, but it's a housing development, and there's this new drug that's being played with called slow-mo, and you basically take it like an inhaler, and what it does is it slows down your mind to like a millionth of a second. And these parts are shot so well and just amazing, and of course the whole thing was shot in 3D, which just helps during those slow-mo moments, So there's a great scene where Judge Dredd comes in to raid the drug lord, and, one guy's on the slow-mo watching everything happen, and there's amazing special effects of, like, bullets going through people's cheeks, and for those of you who have seen the movie, there's a great shot at the very end of the movie, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, where gratuitous, ridiculous, slow-mo and full effect. Amazing. I can't say enough about this film. It's really, I just recommend it. It's awesome, totally great, popcorn fare, and I would advise you to go see it. Hi, it's Saturday. I'm finishing up the edit on this fine piece. I know I missed my Friday date, but two things stopped me, one of which was I had a show open this weekend, so if you're in Austin, Texas, and you want to come see it, Austin Theater Project, we're running the show Baby. Runs for the next 3 weekends. I highly recommend it. You can find it on the Austin Theater Project website. Go there, buy your tickets now. But because of that, it was Tech Week on that, and I just got behind. But really, the other reason that I got behind is because I wanted to talk about a second movie, which was Cabin in the Woods. And I got to talking so much about it that my blog ended up running into like 15, 16 minutes. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to release that as a whole separate video because I just had a lot to say about it because the movie's amazing. So, with that said, I'm just going to go on. I'm going to skip the Cabin in the Woods review and then get to the rest of what I wanted to talk about. But enjoy the rest of your weekend and come see my show. That's good. Last little thing I want to hit on today is, since we're quickly running out of time, is a podcast that I listen to. There's a couple of them that that get me through my week. I'm going to hit up one right now. It's one of my favorites. I've been listening to it for a long time. It is called The Forcecast. It's a Star Wars, obviously. It even sounds like it, right? It's a Star Wars podcast that I've been listening to for a long time. Even got a call-in on a couple of the shows a few years ago. It's a really great show. If you love Star Wars as much as I do, even though right now nothing in the background says Star Wars. Well, except for that, it says Star Wars. It's a really great podcast that I enjoy listening to. Two great guys, Jimmy Mack and Jason Swank, who I've met a couple of times at various conventions. Two really great guys just talking about Star Wars, man. And I mean, it's great. They keep you up to date with stuff that's going on. Video game projects. It's the first time that was the first place I ever heard about The Force Unleashed, for instance. They keep you up to date with any comic books coming out, about toys coming out, and collecting. There's another podcast called the Clone Wars Roundtable. If you haven't been watching the Clone Wars animated series, then you're missing out. I mean, for an animated series, it's about as good as you remember the original Batman animated series. It's like that good. But back to talking about this awesome podcast. Every week they do a Billy D. Williams quote of the week, which is always really awesome. They talk about Star Wars and pop culture. They talk about Star Wars in the news. Usually means somebody dressed as Darth Vader is robbing a bank. That seems to be what they hit up most of all. Anyway, highly recommend it. If you love Star Wars, then definitely you need to be listening to the Forcecast. They went to Celebration 6 this year. Their goal is to leave no fame behind. Putting that on my highly recommend podcast list. So, all of these things, of course, I'm not being paid for. These are just thoughts and ideas that I've had this week. What I have been up to, that's it. I've been in the show, I've been at work, and I've been listening to the podcasts and watching Cabin in the Woods. And that's it. That's been my week. And I'm at the end of this beer. So you know what that means. This blog is the perfect amount of time. So thanks for tuning in this week. Delicious. Come back next week. I've got a bunch of other things I'm going to be talking about. Hopefully I'll be getting to that Avengers review, and if not, then definitely the week after. But I got a lot of good things in store. I've got more beers to drink and lots more stuff to talk about. So, if you've enjoyed this episode, go check out issue number 0. Finishing up here with issue number 1. My name's Matteo, and this is my show.